Welcome everybody. This is Way Better NPCs. My first intro. We got Santino, we got Rob, we got Amit, and we got me, Greg. Today we're talking about the biggest news in the business. We are talking about Bethesda being acquired by Microsoft. What does that mean for gaming? What does that mean for Microsoft and Sony? What does that mean for the different properties and IPs that Bethesda owns going forward? So we're going to tackle that, all the ins and outs. But first, I think I got to address something that came up last episode. Amit was very mean to me. I took this very personally. It hurt, and I really thought about it, thought about my actions. What did I do to deserve this?
This is a goated intro. I did not expect this.
Well, I realize it's tough when you are at the bottom looking up, when you are Xbox looking up at PlayStation, when you're Iowa looking up at the Fighting Illini. Let's go. So
hey, Rob went to U of I too.
I forgive you, Amit.
Gang.
That's how I wanted to end this intro.
Okay, this was a phenomenal intro that I did not expect from Greg. I did not know he had it in him. You might intro more.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, it's good to see you all.
Just the quiet, yeah.
This was
holy shit.
I'll bet good. GG's, Greg. Anyways,
well, we can give Amit a moment to respond.
Wait, yeah, Greg, your voice is a little gone there. Were you crying over Andy Dalton, or what's going on here?
No, I've just been shouting for my Mass Mamba, and Kofi. That's all.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, we're all friends here.
He's been carrying Luka Garza around like a little boy.
I mean, one person's a Player of the Year candidate, and the other one
St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, happy St. Patty's Day. Anyways, we're talking video games. We're talking Bethesda. We're talking Xbox, PC, Microsoft, and a little bit of PlayStation because they are still somewhat involved in this. My early thoughts in regards to this acquisition, when we talked about it, was rumored for some time, and then it was like it's on the table, it's true, and then it was officially signed and was open for the public to know, even though we've known for months that they were officially acquired. My early thoughts: big win for Microsoft, big win for Xbox gamers, PC gamers. Bethesda is no slouch when it comes to video games. They've got some of the most remarkable RPGs that anybody will ever play. If you're into those, obviously the Fallout series is the one I play, is the one that sticks with me. Many more on that list that I'm sure the others will chime in and say they've played or at least tried. They're long games, so it's not for everybody. This is like my thing, I'm going to just get right into it. Where Bethesda needs to shine in this, and I'm not even going to talk who has the games yet, who's getting this, who's getting that, are they even getting it? If you're just going to give me a Fallout like off the rip in the first year, I'm happy. That would that's like I just read an article. It was like Fallout New Vegas 2 coming. I was like, so it's probably wrong. It's probably a lie.
No. But don't get into my speed questions.
Yeah,
that falls into my questions.
Well, the best part about it is they have Obsidian. So Obsidian.
That's
what I'm saying. Obsidian is New Vegas. So, anyways,
one of my speed questions is gone. Damn it, guys. All
right. There were a lot of questions that us four in our group chat were trying to figure out in regards to how we feel this exclusivity is going to work. When you hear exclusivity, you think, well, PlayStation has Last of Us, Xbox has Gears, Halo. I'm just rambling. PlayStation has so many more. Don't think I'm just giving them Last of Us. How is Bethesda going to do this? Are they going to say, hey, we paid $7 billion. We're not giving Sony anything. Or are they going to start as a nice guy, really a bad guy, though, and be like, hey, we've got a few games that have always been on both consoles. You're going to get this for some time. But after that time, we paid this money. You're not going to get it anywhere else but on the best console where you can play the best Bethesda games. And it's going to turn into a strictly console exclusivity on the side of having PC as well because Microsoft. Wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. I know we talked about this already in our group chat. I'll chime in on it, but Amit, and we'll go round robin.
Yeah. Well, just first, I think it's important before we get into like what just happened to lay some background. Like the deal just closed now, but we knew about this for months.
5 months ago. Yeah.
They weren't
Like
saying
September,
anything
right?
because they couldn't. So right, like that's why we're talking about it now.
But everything leaks.
But yeah, but like even like we knew the deal was coming, but like it has to be approved. So Xbox can't say what they're gonna do as much as like you're right, like PlayStation people like me, we were like, oh, this is why they're not saying it because they're not gonna do anything. Like we just are finding out now that like the deal's closed. Phil talked on what was it last Wednesday, like finally like this is because it's the first time we could what we can do.
Yeah.
And then we have the background of Sony being like we're the exclusive guys and Xbox being like we're not. So like that's the I think it's the context here moving forward is important because like I think this is a kind of a gaming landscape change.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead,
So-
Amit.
No,
Right,
I mean
so-
sorry, I hate
Yeah,
to
no problem.
interrupt you there.
I think, obviously everyone's going to talk about the exclusivity. So I think what we should do is let me start by reading what Phil said in the roundtable, right? And this wasn't like a presentation. It wasn't an E3 presentation, right? They have a roundtable. So people are sitting in chairs. It looks like they're distanced. Xbox people flew out to Maryland, to Bethesda. And so Phil's not reading off a script. This is him with a mic trying to just talk from the hip. Obviously, he probably rehearsed some of it and got the points he wanted across. But here's what he said. He said, obviously, I can't sit here and say every Bethesda game is exclusive because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations that we're going to see through, as we always do in every one of these instances. We have games that exist on other platforms, and we're going to support those games on the platforms they're on. There's communities of players we love, and there's players and communities. We love those communities, and we'll continue to invest in them. And even in the future, there may be things that have contractual things or legacy on different platforms that will do. And this is the main part, I think, though. But if you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is that this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. That's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building, and the creative capability we're able to bring to the market for Xbox customers is going to be the best it's ever been for Xbox after we're done here. So, yeah, obviously he's saying if it's going to be on game, if you have a console or something that plays Game Pass, be it a TV app in the future or just the PC,
You'll get the games
or cloud, you're going to get the games, and that's the whole purpose of this. Yeah, he talks about legacy stuff, and we in our group chat we talked about was he crystal clear, right?
So many gray areas to that.
I think before we get into the gray, like I agree. I think the legacy is the only gray part, but I think that Xbox, this is the best place for all that and yada yada yada. Like the part you highlighted is the most important part. So I think we should start with that and then maybe get into the ambiguity because I think we're gonna dig at that ambiguity, but I think that part you highlighted we don't want to lose. Like I think that's very important.
Yeah, I have tons of this is I don't know if you can see all this.
Thank God for a meat.
It's just
man is always prepared.
As my daughter lays in my arms and goes to sleep, I just wrote stuff and wrote.
I love it.
King.
Yes, I love it. Go for it, Amit. Tell us what you got a little bit.
You guide this why it's important to Xbox.
All right, so first of all, I thought it was an awesome job. Right, the presentation roundtable. I thought they did a great job. I think they were open as much as they could be. They flew. They were all together. I think it's awesome. They announced and showed all the studios that they have, which is a ton, right? And then it was awesome because one big point is that I thought of is they have a Japanese studio now. Something that Xbox didn't have. Now they do it. They have a game that's coming out in a few months with Ghostwire Tokyo. Obviously, it's going to be on PlayStation 5 first. But it's great to see where they're at. I think they had 2 games before, which I can talk about as well. So that's the first part is they have a Japanese studio. They've always wanted one. Everyone was talking about Sega and this and that, but I think they knew that wasn't.
Someone in the audience has a question.
Yes, no, to build off that point, I think that's huge. Getting Tango, they did Evil Within. That's a great game. And Evil Within 2. I didn't play that one. I played the first one, but it's well received. And they're doing this at a time where we see Sony kind of back away from Japan. They're kind of winding up Japan studios. They're bringing that team into other groups, the guys who did Astro, so we don't have Japan studios anymore. We've seen them back off some of those indie games, like the support for Atlas and things like the guys who did like Danganronpa. So I think it's an area where Xbox kind of had this big disadvantage, right, in the Japanese game market, and it was more viewed as Sony. And we see them. This is the first step where they're moving in opposite directions, and Microsoft is gaining on them in this area. So that's definitely, I think, a big point, and it might be easily overlooked by the fallouts and the other titles.
And ZeniMax has a Asia division too, so it has an Asian vision too. So that's huge for them. So
you got some, Rob? Or are you just moving your? Oh, I thought you had a question, Rob.
See, I'm not just gonna shit on Xbox this time.
Nah,
this is a good move.
You did almost earlier. You were like as a PlayStation guy, and you kind of cut yourself off earlier. So
no, I did, but like
Xbox, you're getting the benefit of the doubt currently. Give it 20
I think
minutes.
this is a great move for Xbox.
Yeah,
I do.
No, I think we all do. The other thing was awesome is they were talking about how when Fallout 76 had a bad start, that they called Phil Spencer. And they're like, what can we do?
What can we do? Yeah.
What can we do to make this better? And like, if that partnership was already there in the beginning, right? Obviously, there was previous exclusives with the Elder Scrolls and stuff in the past.
Right.
So you could just see that bond was there from the beginning. So that's great to know. The partnership is going to help Bethesda so much because they don't have to worry about marketing the games. They don't have to worry about the money anymore. What they just have to do is say, hey guys, we have this game,
promote it.
Take your time and make sure the game comes out. You have more time to polish because you don't have to bust out games as fast as you want. We have the whole 15 or 18 other Xbox studios, right, that can put out games in between. So we can space these things out. You have the help, right? They don't have to worry about, they can take their times. One thing that people always talk about Bethesda is their games come out buggy, but this is a way that they can take time and polish it more. So people aren't going to see it as much. Right. So I think that's really huge.
Yeah.
And then another thing is like a big news that came out with Xbox was that Coalition was helping 343 Studios push out Halo. Right. But now all of these guys can help out to make sure that the next big title is going to get the help and support it needs, not just, one or two, but we can take like they can use the id Tech, right? That from all the stuff they're doing is they can say, hey, here's a new engine for you guys to use. So you don't want to use Unreal 5, you can use our engine that runs super smooth and has great great optimizations, and you guys can use it. So that partnership is going to be huge. If you guys want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, no, I think it's already proven huge. First off, Rob might appreciate this, but I feel like I look like a Change of Heart Yu-Gi-Oh card with this white and black background. But no, I think the id-Tech thing is already proven huge because
tonight.
No, if you look at their financials, Xbox has already said they've made back the money on the Bethesda deal, and we know they haven't released any games, and that's all coming from licensing.
It's a win regardless. Yeah,
it's something we didn't think about. I mean, well, it's not the first thing that comes to mind, but the licensing of this id-Tech and the engines is I think what makes it even more possible for them to just say like, hey, we're going to put these games on Game Pass, where like Game Pass isn't necessarily profitable yet. It's making a lot of revenue, but is it profitable? Especially if you're going to start adding the expenses of a $7 billion purchase. But when all that's recovered by just licensing id-Tech, like the engine, that's a huge advantage that allows them to really play with these IPs in a way that I didn't consider before, thinking about how they're going to make money in other ways outside of the games alone.
And Phil specifically mentioned them in the roundtable. So it's like he was like, yes, let's use this. Let's go. We're just going to keep getting better and better with this. So it's
definitely,
it was amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
Rob, go ahead. How do you feel about everything so far with this acquisition and what Microsoft and Bethesda, I guess, have in this new relationship together?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me that I've gathered from everything is that it just makes sense. A lot of times people get into business and you're like, where'd that come from?
It's random.
This they have history throughout so much stuff. You know what I'm saying? Whether it is was it Morrowind that was a exclusive on like the first Xbox. I think Skyrim ran way better on 360 than
The original
PS3.
Fallout was on
Like,
PC,
yeah, like
Microsoft, you know.
yeah, like they have a lot of history, and just that whole point about like the licensing. A lot of times people are like, are they even worth that much money? Like
Like Bethesda's not new, to be
like
honest.
it's
Like
like
people are thinking like this is new, but like they've got the history.
it's
They've
like
got history.
yeah, it's like
And they've
IPs
got an
aside.
engine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Yep.
you're not just paying for a couple exclusive games. You're paying for all those
A
games.
lifelong
Like,
catalog.
yeah, the whole catalog, which they use to
The
amplify
catalog
Game
is good,
Pass and shit
yeah.
again. You know what I'm saying? And then, like you said, the tech, and both sides are gaining something from that, because then now they have insight into all the inner workings at Microsoft that can help them produce in a better level and shit like that. So realistically, at the time, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. All those games people like will be on Xbox and stuff. But like now it's like, oh no, this is like a big play for both
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah.
And you know,
Not
I
not
think they've
just
done a good job of
yeah,
paying that.
but not just what you're talking about, like with the partnership. It's the diversity of the
Yeah.
portfolio that they bring, right?
Yeah.
Because Xbox, Santino, you said it so many times. Halo, Forza, Gears, or that's all they
Yeah.
have, right? So they have a first person shooter, they have a third person shooter, and they're racing.
And a racing sim.
But now you bring in the biggest Western RPG
Yep.
company, and then you add in more shooters, right? And you add in all this different
More
stuff.
story games,
It's
more things to get
insane.
lost in.
It's insane how much they brought MMOs over, right? Like they have so much diversity here that anything you want on Xbox is going to be there, right? It's not just a couple things anymore.
And like that's where and we say this in almost every Xbox related video, like, and I can't stress this enough. Game Pass is literally the best thing that you could own for X amount of dollars, however much it fluctuates. Sometimes you can get it $1 for a year or whatever it is. If you're a casual gamer and you haven't played any Bethesda type thing and you're like, oh, I want to see what the hype is, and I love RPGs, I love this and that, dude, like, and you own an Xbox and you're like, it's kind of dry right now with games, but I want to get lost in a story game. You got like 5 games you could put in 100 hours easily and not even have the game halfway beat if you're a big time like story game guy or girl and you want to get lost in a game. So I think it's crazy to me to think that like Game Pass
Don't have Game Pass.
Yeah. Essentially, just get Game Pass, because if you own an Xbox, you get Game Pass.
I've been thinking about this a lot recently, especially after I was texting the group here. I was saying like, hey, I want to go on to Game Pass and see what I can play. I want to kind of dig into my Xbox a little bit. And I feel like we've been saying this a lot, and it's definitely a great deal. Don't get me wrong.
I know where you're going, and I'm going to agree with this, Greg.
It's $15 a month, right? And we're paying that a few months. So say you have it for 3 months, that's $45. And we keep talking about the promise of it. It's going to be all the first party games. It's going to be all this. It's going to be all, the Bethesda and the Halos and that. And that's great. And it's going to be great value. But so far, to me, it almost feels like I could take $45, go to a GameStop, go in the $5 bin, and
get all those
grab
games.
9 games that'll last me 3 months that I can play for like, for all that time. And it feels like the same thing. I just like right now, and I texted this to the guys as well. It feels like a lot of sides and a lot of good filling, but we need the main course. Like they need, and I feel like it's coming, right? The Bethesda deal helps hammer this home.
It's going to start what Game Pass is.
But even when they re-release, like, hey, look at all these Bethesda games, all these games on Game Pass. It's like, yeah, but like they're old. Like Morrowind is an Xbox game. Like there's good games in there, but they're old. And we've been talking about the value and what it's going to be for so long. I think we also have to acknowledge that right now, like, it's not what we want. There's potential, but it's not necessarily what we want.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to wait for the exclusives. That's the hardest part right now, right? And when they did since I've had Game Pass, I've had it since whenever Gears 5 came out is when when I plunged. And
1918.
Me too.
Yeah,
No,
whatever
it was
it
the same time I got it.
right. But having Gears 5 day and date It was amazing. And then shortly after that, I got Red Dead Redemption 2, which it was an older game, but I had never wanted to pay $60 for it. So that was a brand new game for me. Doom Eternal came out, and I was like, I did not play this game yet. I get to play this game. So there's a lot of games that they might not be quote unquote new, but they're getting Outriders day and date now, right? They're getting all of these games that you could have played or you might have missed because you're playing Last of Us 2, you're playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake. These games that Sony has, you could have been putting hours into Elder Scrolls Online or Fallout 76, and you might have missed some of these games. So is it exactly what we want yet? No, because we want Halo Infinite now, right? Like, if that's going to be a great game, we want it now. But at the same time, nothing out there is like the value this is, because even Sony's like, oh yeah, you have to pay $70 now to get one of our top rated games, right? All that's just the status quo of what it was before Game Pass came.
No, I totally agree, and I think that there's definitely the value is in there. I just think of like the months that go by where I sit and pay that $15 and don't use it versus like what would it cost me to go buy Red Dead on there now? Like,
this is my
that was the game I wanted to play. Like, would it cost me $30 versus like the 2 months I let it sit? And that's a personal thing, right? Like, there's definitely gamers where there's a ton of value. There's definitely gamers who have like not played a lot of the games where it's a ton of value.
Right.
I just feel like we simplify it as like, you have to have Game Pass. Why wouldn't you? It's the best deal in games. But like, also it's like, not really if you're like playing the new, like if you're caught up. And for Xbox especially, like, Gears is the last real exclusive that came out on there. Like, medium, sure, like you can give me those little ones, but like, since Gears, like, has there been?
So this is how I look at Game Pass. And when Game Pass was first announced, I agreed 100% with that, Greg. I was like, it's a lot of games that I'm not really going to play. Like, it's just a big catalog and yada, yada, yada. But the way I see Game Pass now, it's like, if you're a casual gamer, if you're a nostalgic gamer, Game Pass is heaven for you. Like, if you're like, if you're like a Meat where you have a back catalog and, the game is going to be essentially on there for free and you paid $40 a year or something, 45, whatever you guys said it was, or even at $2 a year when Gears 5 came out, it was $2 for a whole year. Game Pass is like, I'm going to turn it on, my Xbox on. I don't have a lot of time. I want to relive this old game. Oh, shoot, a new game's coming out. I can play this for a little bit. It's like you get a flavor and a taste of everything for a little amount of time if you're that kind of gamer. If you're the kind of gamer like, I guess me and Greg probably game the most for the most time now. If you're like, day one, I got to play this. I want it now. What's new? If you're looking for what's new on Game Pass, like weekly, monthly, even biannually or whatever, you're not going to find like the newest hit on there. I think not yet. And we don't know. Maybe that isn't even going to be a thing later. Maybe it's just going to be like, okay, new Halo's coming out. Okay, a new Bethesda game's coming out. It's been 3 years. Here's the game. There's going to be a lot of those like sides that release on there that are Xbox exclusive or even cross-plat and so forth. So I don't think, and again, we use not yet. I don't think right now it's fair to say that like Game Pass is like, it's dry essentially. It's just filled with nostalgia.
And like for the right style of gamer, it is a steal. I just remember the thing that got me in, and I remember listening to Kind of Funny back in 2017, and Tim, when they announced like, hey, all first party exclusives will be coming to Xbox Game Pass, right? And we're like, holy cow. Like, if you're paying, this is when it was $10 a month, $120 a year. So if they release 2 exclusives, it's paying for itself. 2 exclusives a year. And they haven't released like 2 real exclusives a year to make it like for the gamer, like I think Santino and you and I, like the people where we want,
and I
like,
agree with
those,
that,
like day ones. And for me, it was like, yes, like this is a steal. Like if I get Halo and I might get my Gears and
I paid for it,
Forza, whatever, like it's paid off.
But I just don't think it's what you do after that.
I don't think that value's been recognized, but I do think, again, to the original analogy, lots of sides, lots of appetizers. And I think this Bethesda deal helps serve us the main courses, right?
Yeah. what else are we? I mean, what was your next thing in regards to the Bethesda? I don't want to get too caught up on Game Pass. That's
No. So the next thing I had on my list was like games that are critical, like successes that were like Dishonored 1 and 2, Prey, stuff like that, that were considered very, very good games, but no one played. You know, those games, since they don't have to worry about, like, it's what I was talking about earlier, marketing, you know, all that kind of stuff. They can just put out those games, and since they're going to Game Pass, they're going to see so much more hits than they were, because no one's people that wouldn't want to pay $60 for them, but they're not the true AAA game. They're going to get more hits and they're going to get more recognition. And I think those games are just going to be even better to, they're not the, you know, it's more of the buffet. It's not the main course type thing. But I think
I would consider one of those new games, like any Bethesda game, like a Dishonored. Sure. That's up there. I mean, that would be up there for me. That's why I think this purchase is so important for them, because it gives them even those little ones. Like, think about it. Prey 2.
I would love it.
Compared to the medium.
Yeah.
Come on. That's a huge step up.
No, like, absolutely. I don't disagree with that. I don't
think like, I just like, to Microsoft's credit, I don't think that's buffet anymore. I think that's where we're getting into the value.
I think a lot of the buffet games are going to stand out a lot more now, because
I think the buffet is Prey 1. The buffet is, you know, the old Wolfenstein games. The sequels,
is the newer games that are coming.
Main courses.
But what I mean is, if you say, hey, do you know what just a random gamer, do you know what Fallout is? Yeah, I know what Fallout is. Do you know what, you know, Elder Scrolls is? Yeah, I know. Do you know what Prey is? People are like, no, it sounds like it sounds like am I like a stalker or what's going on? And you know, that's the thing. If you say Dishonored 1 and 2, people be like, I've never heard of anything like that, right?
The games that are like recognition, they're going to get more shine.
Blockbuster and shit.
It's almost like the Ghost of Tsushima to the Last of Us. Like, we didn't know what these are, but like you said, as they come out on Game Pass and maybe they get some more recognition,
they get the audience.
Hey, maybe they will become these things, right?
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
Like what we know, because of what we know of their quality and the critical reception, that's, I guess, where I'm coming from, is like, hey, like, now that they're free and now that they have this wide audience, like, hopefully we can see them as more than that. Like, I totally agree with your point though. Like, yes, they're not household names.
Right. But this is going to make them household games, and they're just going to be better for it because they have more money to put behind it. So they're just going to be better. You would hope.
Agreed.
Right. Yeah. The last thing was just the fun idea that we had. Two things. So before the fun thing is, since they have the partnership, I think that this is going to lead to more exclusive licensing. I said kind of like the Spider-Man with Sony type thing, because now they have the pedigree behind Xbox and Bethesda just being like this powerhouse. I think that they can get more licensing, possibly maybe a Marvel game, maybe, you know, Indiana Jones. We don't know. Is that going to be multiplayer? I don't know. Or did, before LucasArts gave it to them, did they know that this deal was going down, right? They're like, we're going to reach so many people because Game Pass has over 18 million subscribers. This is going to get to probably even a bigger number than that. Can it lead to something where, you know, they see how well games are doing on Game Pass, that say, hey, that's something that we want to be a part of. You can have a Wolverine, or, you know, the exclusivity stuff with like the Avengers, right?
It just opens up a door for more exclusivity.
Crystal Dynamics did a terrible job with Avengers. It's dead, right? Whereas Elder Scrolls Online is still possible. It's probably better, has a better reception and so forth. So they'll see that and say, hey, now you have Game Pass with it. We should be in your ecosystem rather than, you know, doing this one-off with multi-plat or whatever. So I don't know if you guys want to say anything on that.
I don't have much on that. I think that's, I think
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a good point that those things will coincide with each other. I think there's going to be a lot more room for, you know, developers and companies to be like, hey, we see what you did with Bethesda. We see how you've enhanced games that were kind of not the main course. As we keep saying, we want to do something with you. We've got this idea. We got the superhero game. We got something you've never seen, and boom, Game Pass and Xbox and Microsoft exclusivity. So let's get into the nitty gritty of this, Rob. I want to get your take on this. Exclusivity in regards to this deal. We all were going back and forth. I made the statement of Xbox needs to look good when they do this because they're kind of behind in regards to the gaming space. Sony kind of has them, especially when it comes to exclusivities, but that doesn't mean that they can just lock up Fallout and all the other exclusive games. And you and me kind of agreed on the point I'm trying to get to. How do you feel Xbox is going to handle these current exclusivities? How do you think it'll end up in the future?
So my initial thought, like when they first announced the deal, my initial thought was that like they would keep the mid-tier ones and like let the big ones go elsewhere because everybody wants those. Like we just talked about, like everyone doesn't have the same name recognition. So it's like if you guys lose that, you won't be too mad, and then more people will play them and woo woo. But thinking about it now, especially after hearing everything, it seems like I mean the biggest we talk about the gray area with the legacy. What does that mean? Does that mean sequels? Does that mean just the online games? You know what I mean? Um, and then the whole. So I saw this. I was listening to this podcast, and they had this one theory, right? And this was interesting because it kind of fits in with what Microsoft did last gen, where they're kind of almost trying to bully Sony into doing different things. And so they've been focusing on the whole where Game Pass is. And they're like, oh, well, why do they word it like that? Why are they trying to imply that maybe like, oh, PlayStation gamers, you can get it if you add Game Pass to PlayStation or something like that, which like would never happen. But like,
Right.
remember with the crossplay thing? Oh, we're down for crossplay. It's just them. You know what I mean?
For Rocket League. That's how it all started.
I think Fortnite was the one that broke through, but yeah.
Oh, was it Fortnite first? I thought it was Rocket League.
Yeah, because the Switch added and all that other stuff. But yeah, so my thought is that at this point, I'm still on the fence about Elder Scroll and Fallout because of the legacy word, but I'm also curious about Starfield because I think Starfield is the one that's coming first. And
it's probably already being developed on both ends.
Yeah, there was rumors that Sony was trying to buy exclusivity for it. And
months before it, yep.
Yeah, so there's rumors about that. And then they buy them.
They were like, "Oh, we'll let you know, Sony."
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Because they can't say anything.
Yeah, and so it's like they were trying to get it, but they own it, so they're not going to get it. But was it being developed? Do you pay to just be like, we just paid $7 billion, drop it? You know what I mean? Like they don't get it because I feel like that's the game right now. Microsoft's been buying all these studios, building all these studios, all this stuff, right? But right now, the only thing we know for sure that actually has a timeline is Halo. Everything else is just like it's coming. I personally don't think we're gonna see any of those big games like Hellblade, Fable, Perfect Dark or anything. I don't think we're gonna see any of them until like 2023 at the earliest. I think that's when they're gonna start rolling out. So it's like, what do you?
Yep. I'm thinking later, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll get one of them. I'm not saying all of them. One of them will be in 2023. Okay. I think. I don't know which one, but I think one of them. And so, what do we get in that essentially 2-year time span outside of Halo? You know what I mean? Don't like. It's like, okay, well, we have this Bethesda deal. Starfield's what they have next. It's like you probably want that just to be exclusive at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's definitely a sure thing. And everything else, like I said, I think they'll do great on Game Pass. But the legacy word is the one that's weird for me. I just don't know what he like means by that, because it's like I think it's smart to put it both places because like money's money.
Money is money.
They'll say like,
well, like Greg said earlier, they don't need that money.
They don't need the money.
Right?
Exactly.
And you don't need it, but it's always nice to have.
I'll hop onto that legacy thing because that's the word that really caught me, right? Like he says, Amit read it, and you can go back and listen to what he said, what Phil said. And I think as Rob was saying, right, like Phil's kind of talking off the cuff. It's more it's planned, or sorry, as Amit said, it's planned, but it's much more like of a sit down as opposed to Sony, like very planned, like we have every word picked out. So like if Sony dropped a word like legacy, where it's just, someone on stage reading a script, maybe you read into it a little deeper. But Phil's shooting off the cuff, maybe sitting down, which makes me add a little bit more like, was it intentionally vague or was it just a misuse of the word, whereas Amit described it? Maybe he meant legacy, like games that are on a console currently.
Yes, and that's how Amit, 76 and stuff like that.
And the only reason I would think maybe it's different is because first he says, right, like games that are on a console currently, games that have already have contracts, and then he goes, but in the future, and he says legacy. Like I've listened to a few different podcasts and a few different thoughts, and it feels like the way people interpret this just really falls in line with how they want to see it.
Yeah.
Does it mean like it's
Yeah.
going to PlayStation because you want it to, or does it mean no? It's just like it just means it's staying on Xbox. When I think about legacy, Bethesda doesn't have much of a PlayStation legacy.
Facts.
The
Yeah.
legacy with Bethesda is with Xbox.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
Oblivion was the first Elder Scrolls game to come to PlayStation after an Xbox, exclusive DLC. Skyrim was, notoriously buggy on PlayStation.
I mean,
Fallout felt
all of them
more
are
at home.
buggy.
But I'm just saying, like,
Skyrim
no,
was, like,
no,
broken
no.
on PlayStation.
Skyrim was.
Oh, okay. I didn't play Skyrim. I just know that these kind of
Yes.
open games are
Yeah,
buggy.
No, they are buggy,
it was,
but
like,
it was
actually
notorious.
played a certain way.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So like Cyberpunk.
Closer to that, yes. No,
Yeah,
on PlayStation it was like
I'm
that,
just
yes.
taking a jab. I don't know.
But what I'm
Sketchy
saying is,
choice.
like, it's not like there is a true legacy other than, like,
That's a good point. I didn't think of
the
it that way.
games were there, but it's
Yeah.
not like it used to be at home on PlayStation
Yeah.
and it got ripped away from its home. So that's why, like, the more I think a Meat's view and the fact that, like, most of these games will probably be on Xbox exclusively is the way they're going to go. I think, if anything, this legacy word leaves a door open for Microsoft. You could easily say, hey, there is a legacy for Elder Scrolls on PlayStation, and we're giving it to them.
Here it is. Yeah, here
And
it is.
no one
It's
can
the
really
game.
say you lied. But I've been thinking about that a lot. I do think it's unclear. I think it leads for people to
I think it's
say
unclear as
a
well.
lot of different things, but
Oh,
I think at
definitely.
the end of the day, what most people think is going to happen will probably happen, and it will mostly be on Xbox.
To be honest, I think they just don't know yet. Like, straight up. Like, I think they just haven't decided because they're just like strategizing. They got it. I think they know what
We
they
got to
want to
figure
do.
out what goes where.
Yeah,
and,
I think
they don't know what future contracts they're gonna get, right?
Exactly,
So-
exactly. So I feel like they're like, it's like you said. I think you leave the door open because, like, even if you decide to close it, you're well within your rights. We own this, so why wouldn't we? But, like, if you leave it open, you can still be like, yeah, we never said anything. You know what I mean? Like, right now, I think they're still trying to figure it out, especially since the deal's so fresh. Like, sure, they probably have strategies and plans and stuff, but I don't think you just inherited like a ton of studios and IPs
But
along
if-
with what you were just working with. You're probably trying to see, like, okay, we might be able to give them this because we have these two things coming out around that time, or we don't have anything, so we're definitely locking that down. Like, I think they just have a lot to manage now, which will be interesting to see. But yeah, I don't know.
But at the same time, they are not being like altruistic. They are saying, hey, it's going to be the best on Xbox. We're doing what we can for Xbox. Buy a damn Xbox if you want to play Bethesda. Like, that's what they're saying.
Yep.
They left a little door open, but they are saying,
Yeah,
like,
they've been
so
very
even if
focused
they
on
change
Game
their
Pass.
mind in the future, we can't say they didn't lie. But they are selling Xboxes now.
And
so,
that's
like,
where my point that I brought up to you guys when the official announcement happened, I think it's smart that they're going to be on whatever the legacy is, it's going to be on both. But I do think if Xbox, which they will, I'm almost positive they will do, if they want to make that statement of these are our exclusives, we paid $7 billion for you to play Bethesda games on the best console, whether that's true or not, depending on what consoles are down the line, whether if it's the Series X Max and the PS5 Pro, whatever they do, in 2 or 3 years, you can't be like in this console war that they said they're not in anymore with Sony, and all we do is say, well, Xbox has no exclusives. They got this and that, and now their exclusives are on both systems. What kind of exclusivity is that? They locked that shit down in like 2 to 3 years, and it's just on Xbox.
I mean, I think this is the death of the pro consumer. We don't do exclusives Xbox, and no one's talking about that. Like, Xbox, we've talked about this on our old episodes, but they get always like, we're the most pro consumer. We don't do exclusive. They have articles where Phil Spencer said Xbox is not about exclusives.
They need to be about
Well,
exclusives.
no. Well, to be fair, I think when he's talking about that, though, he's talking about we don't like exclusives only on console. We are going to give you every way to play. We are going to give you. We're going to give you
I
the
was gonna
console.
say.
We're going to give you PC. We're going to give you cloud. We're probably going to
Yeah,
give you
Game Pass.
Steam.
You have
We're going to
options.
give you a stick probably in the future. You can get this. It's $15 and you just buy a stick probably for 20.
I was gonna say,
That's
the
where the
benefit
gray
is the game.
area is, though.
But
That's the
that's-
thing. That's the Game Pass
But
thing.
they're not
Hey,
locked to a
right.
console.
you can
That's
play
the
it
thing.
anywhere. Game
It's locked
Pass
to
is.
Game Pass, right?
You want to
The-
play it on
the
PlayStation?
play-
Tell Sony to add Game Pass.
It's their fault.
The play anywhere
That's
is
literally
play
what they're-
anywhere that is in a Microsoft ecosystem.
Play
And
anywhere
I-
that has Game Pass.
Yeah,
And-
like no, pay us and then you can play anywhere. Like,
but again,
I get it.
to my point
It's
is
just
this is your exclusivity. If it is truly yours, it stays in your whatever
Ecosystem.
cloud ecosystem, your Game Pass only ecosystem. You don't pay $7 billion to be like, here, Sony, here, Nintendo. You can have
Of
some of the
course. Yeah,
prize
you don't do
money.
that.
So they're gonna play nice, and I told Greg in the group chat, I use the term nice lightly because just like any other company, there's a plan behind this. There's more to it. When the playing nice is done, it gets locked up, it's vaulted, and whatever they got for those 2 to 3 years on Sony and on Nintendo, well, that's all you got. You want to play this Fallout 5 or Fallout 6 or Fallout New Vegas 2? You better come to Xbox. You better come to PC. You better come to whatever this cloud stick is, because
no, I'm not mad about it. I think
no,
it's the
I'm
right
not saying
move.
anybody's mad about it. I'm
No,
just
I'm
saying
just,
that's what
yeah.
they should do.
Yeah,
I
no,
just think
that's
we
what
gotta
they will
recognize
do.
them like they're playing the game too now, and good.
Yeah.
They need
No,
it.
Yeah, they've needed to play the game.
Right. Phil is stone cold, right? Like Xbox, after Xbox One, they were thinking about shutting down Xbox.
They
right?
almost got
They're
bought
like,
out.
This is yeah. They're like, we're gonna sell it off.
They were thinking about
Phil
selling
comes
it.
Phil comes in, turns this whole thing around. Yeah, it's building blocks though, right? He's turned it around. He's got this Game Pass thing on the ground. He gets this acquisition. Basically, everything that he wants to happen right now is going the way that he wants now. This guy is like the best thing that's ever happened to Xbox, right? And for that division of Microsoft. So yeah, he's gonna lock this down the best way he can, but he just can't. 95% of him is like, yes, we're only exclusive, but he knows that 5% has to be open because exclusivity stuff with like, or opening a future contract, stuff like that. But he's stone cold. He's gonna say,
And-
you need to come to our ecosystem, like you said.
Yeah, it's always
That's
about
it.
the Game Pass.
To-
Play here. Play where
Right.
we
To
have our
piggyback
stuff.
on what Amit just said, like Phil Spencer being the best thing to happen to Xbox, like Xbox wasn't supposed to be like as great as it is. Like it was Sony, it was Nintendo, and it was Sega. Those were your like three big hitters.
It's
And
like
Arena
the sex of the
Sega,
90s.
damn.
No, but I'm saying, like Xbox took
no,
off
yeah.
more than what people like. People don't look at it that way. Like people think Xbox was always like the best thing, like what was as great as it is. Whether or not the comparison is Xbox and Sony.
360
Realistically,
is where they
right? And before
Elevated.
360, it was: are you Sony? Are you Nintendo? Because Sega was on its way out already in the early 2000s, and then Microsoft struck gold with 360, and it blew up. So I mean, they have, in the shorter time that they've been in this business compared to the other two, I think Xbox doesn't get enough credit of like how well they've done this gaming thing the past 20 years or whenever the original Xbox came out. And I think now this Bethesda is either going to be what gets them really rolling for the future, or it's going to be some stagnant shit again. I mean, there's always a possibility that this isn't as great as it's made to be. And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, they bought Bethesda. Microsoft is good. They're gonna push all these good games out. They're gonna get on top again. Everybody's gonna want an Xbox.
Well, that leads me into some questions I had for the group, and I think that's a perfect segue. The first one is we've talked about, right, we need Xbox to get competitive. We want them competing with Sony because the competition breeds better
Greatness,
games for everything,
yes.
right? Is this the type of competition we were really talking about when this is just a purchased studio? The games that we're talking about are games that probably would have come out anyway. Now they're just probably exclusive. We can talk about the fact there's more money, those games might be better, this and that. But is this the competition we were hoping for in terms of developing new IPs, developing competitions or competitors to the God of Wars and Last of Us? Or is this just more of a business competition piece of acquiring Bethesda, but it doesn't really change the landscape of gaming in terms of what's out there for the players.
Rob,
Well,
you can go, or
Oh, yeah,
whoever
Rob.
wants to
No, go, Rob. Go. You go. You go.
So I think it is. I don't think it's what we hoped for, but I think it ticks all those boxes. Because I remember we were having a conversation one time and we were talking about how we want new IPs, but a lot of the most exciting stuff on Sony is like just revamped old stuff like Spider-Man and new God of War, but it's like new, but it's God of War's old, Last of Us sequel. You know what I mean? Like these are big things. They did them differently. And so in my head, it's like, cool, if we lock these things down, it kind of just ticks the same boxes in a way where it's like, here's these super well-known IPs that are just here now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, look how excited Santino is every time we talk about it when it comes to Fallout. Like, if you tell him Fallout 5 is Xbox exclusive or PC exclusive, it's like that's going to be world shaking for a lot of people.
Favorite games,
you know what I'm saying? And I look at that. The only thing for me that I guess is disappointing in a way about it is because when I think about like Xbox exclusives and stuff and like Sony exclusives are like third person action adventure, whatever games, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like they just inherited a bunch of like first person like RPG games, which I guess Sony doesn't really have that many. So maybe that'll encourage them to do that as well. And when we talk about breeding excellence, it's like, okay, cool. We should have a studio working on a game like that that'll whatever on that type of front. And so I think because of those two things, I think Microsoft gains a lot of big top tier IP. And then it also, because of so many different things in that genre, it might encourage Sony to also explore that as well, which again elevates both sides in a way, which is all I want out of everything at the end of the day.
I just guess like instead of Fallout 5, right? That's the next one. Fallout 5 coming out. Now Microsoft is putting money into Fallout 5 as opposed to putting money into Game X.
What the initiative does, right? They're doing it's not a new IP, but the initiative's the new studio. They're doing Perfect Dark, but we were all hoping that it was maybe possibly a third-person adventure to take on.
But at least like Perfect Dark is something we didn't expect to come out as independently. Like Fallout 5 was gonna be in our gaming ecosystem.
You were going to get it regardless.
Regardless of this purchase.
Yeah.
And now there's money, first party money going into that isn't going into unknown game.
So
well, that's what Starfield is though, right?
Yeah.
That they basically
but
bought
like
it for
that
Starfield.
was coming out anyway. Like I'm just
this is my
but I think it's like looking at ecosystem, like it's coming out anyways, but like if we're looking at it, whether it's amplifying each side, like it's like cool, here's this elevating Microsoft's catalog.
Yeah.
And like in that perspective, it's like sure, we would have gotten that anyways, but like now this side has that, and it's like how does this side respond?
And I agree with that, but like is Sony like are they gonna respond to Starfield and Fallout now because Microsoft owns them and they weren't before when it was
they were trying to buy Starfield.
So if they want something like that,
that's the discussion I'm wondering. That's why I want to dig into this. Those are the things I to dig
so
out.
I'm gonna make my point real quick because I don't want to take us into a 3-hour video. In regards to what Rob said of like how excited I get about Fallout, either New Vegas 2 or Fallout 5, this acquisition, yes, it's great for Microsoft, Xbox, and PC. Yeah, it's exciting. But this is me speaking personally. Outside of the Fallouts, like this is like, what do you have for me right now? What do you have for me to play that I haven't played? And how long do I have to wait to see my next Fallout, my next New Vegas, or whatever's in the Bethesda catalog? Because like I said earlier, like, what if I'm waiting 3 more years? Is this going to be like a thing where I'm excited right now and then I wait 3 years and I'm like, oh, it's here. Just like with like, I think that's going to be the reaction for, games that come out that have been announced already, but COVID pushed them back. The excitement kind of tapers away because it's like, it's not, the excitement comes back when they announce what's coming. So I think, yes, this is exciting because we're doing the whole, oh, this might be coming out now. This is a possibility because Obsidian is with Microsoft now. Fallout New Vegas 2 is a possibility. Like we're doing the like my most recent example is like we're doing the WandaVision, like he's coming, this person's coming, they're gonna do this, and it's not like it might turn into like just Fallout 5. Okay, there it is.
I mean, I'd like to hear your thought. Sorry, go on, Rob.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think we get caught up a lot in, and I understand why, obviously, but it's like I think to a degree we need some patience. You know what I mean? Like,
and there's no patience for gamers though.
As a whole, like when it comes to Microsoft, like we've been in a drought for a minute, so I get that perspective of not having any more patience because it's like you said, like Gears was the last like blockbuster huge game we got, and that was like gonna be 2 years ago, right?
Right.
While realistically, this is like the start of the generation, though.
Right. This is the beginning of the new.
And so when you look at from that perspective, it's like the generations typically start really slow. Like, and then you have COVID as like also a part of it as well. You know what I'm saying? Because like I don't think, I don't go in examples, but you know what I'm saying? So like I get the reservations because we see all these studios Microsoft has. We don't even know what all of them are doing. And the ones that we do know, we only seen like cinematic trailers, so they're super far away. You know what I'm saying?
I think once things get announced is when.
Well, yeah, and then we have to remember that Sony gave us the State of Play a couple weeks ago. Nintendo gave us 2 different directs. Microsoft hasn't said anything, so we don't know what they can announce, what they will announce, and when they'll announce it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I get that whole thing, but I feel like at this point, the excitement or the chatter is mostly about like, okay, not only did you show us that you have some things, but you also just bought something that has already showed and proved to a degree. Bethesda has a crazy fan base and stuff like that. And the games that don't have the clout that Fallout or Elder Scrolls get review really well. They just don't like
they're outshined
notoriety. You know what I'm saying?
And now they'll be focused on.
So I think it's just a matter of like, I get that perspective because it's like, well, what am I doing now? When is it going to pay off? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like, at this point, Bethesda plays the same role that like Sony's last generation does for PS5, where it's like, okay, we got so many bangers on PS4. I'm going to get a PS5 out the gate because I know for a fact. At this point, it's like, oh, they bought Bethesda. Bethesda makes these games, so I need those games to come out because I know, like, we don't know when all these games are coming out, but
it still sells your system.
But you're excited about it because of the reputation. And I think that's what that is about more than anything.
I mean, any thoughts before I have just one final thought on this, but I want you to have a shot at this.
Yeah, a couple of things to touch on. I know we're talking about Gears 5 was the last big exclusive. I'd say getting Destiny 2 with the DLC was huge. I had never played Destiny before. I jumped into it whenever Beyond Light came out. That's huge, right? And it was free. So my friends are trying to catch me up. So when the next DLC drops, I'll be caught up with them. So that's huge. I just think that's a big thing with the FPS boost and all that. So I just wanted to put that out there. In terms of
that.
Yeah, in terms of you guys talking about the patience stuff. Yeah, this is all the promise for the future. I think once the summer comes and they're going to talk about Starfield, that's Bethesda's next big thing, right? Todd Howard hasn't put out a game, his directed game, since Fallout 4. So this is going to be a huge deal. And since it's a new IP, I think this is going to be the Game Pass seller. So there's going to be a little bit of a lull until that. Yes, Halo's going to come out, but then there's going to be a little bit of a lull because we don't know what else is coming out besides Psychonauts 2 and all that stuff. And PlayStation's going to dominate the headlines, right? We already know that Horizon's coming out. We know that Ratchet & Clank's coming out. We know that Gran Turismo's coming out at some point. We know God of War's coming out. But besides that stuff that we don't know what's announced, we know Spider-Man 2 will come out at some point. But after that, we don't know, right? And then once that PlayStation's going to get all the hype, they're going to get all the console sales right now. Once that drops off, that's when all these Xbox games are just going to come and hit hard. But that's not until the future. And I think at the end of the generation, they're going to look back and be like, holy crap, Xbox had all this stuff. Look at what's dropping now, And I think it's just a promise for the future. Sucks for me. Sucks for us that we have to wait, but it's a promise for the future, But in terms of Greg's original question is, what is there? Is this what we were hoping for? I don't think so. Because we all want new stuff, right? It stinks when a new movie is just hey, it's going to be Transformers 5, right? Or it's going to be Fast and Furious. We're doing 8 and 9 back to back, whatever it is, right? We want
To
that.
the moon.
We want that Get Out. We want that Us, right? We want that brand new thing.
New
Like,
ideas.
this is
Yeah,
this is
you
a
want
new
something
idea. I'm
fresh.
so excited for that, right? And that's what we want. But one, as an economic move, you do what's going to sell, and
Correct. And Fallout sells.
and Fallout sells.
Elder Scrolls sells.
But when you can buy the next big intellectual property like Starfield and you do it. Like Rob said, yeah, Sony wanted to buy it months before the deal happened, but the deal happened, so Sony doesn't get it. Even Jim Ryan, whenever he was asked about Starfield, he's like, I actually wrote the quote. Hold on one second. Here's what Jim Ryan says about Starfield coming to PlayStation. That's a decision that is out of our hands. We'll wait and see what happens. I look forward to learning about that. Like, he's got no idea, right? Or is there like a secret agreement that they get it and Xbox is just talking about it?
We don't know. We will never know until then.
Right. But then I think about Deathloop and I think about Ghostwire Tokyo, and these are games that they're touting. They're shouting from the rooftops. This is our game, right? This is a PlayStation 5 game, right? They're not even saying it's time exclusive, really. We all know it is, but they're shouting. If they're not shouting that Starfield isn't on their console, I don't think it's coming, right? On PlayStation.
That's fair.
So,
that's a good catch. That's fair.
No, yeah, I think just to wrap up the idea of it, like, kind of the things Santino and Rob were touching on, like, it fills in those gaps. It makes for less patience for these Xbox games. Absolutely. There's no doubt that this purchase is good for Xbox.
Correct.
100%.
Correct.
It fills out a portfolio. It checks the boxes. It is great. I think and you know what? It's good for Game Pass consumers. Like, if you're just someone who wants a good value on games, old games, new games, it's great for you. I just think in the gaming landscape, it might not be the best thing for us overall if what we're looking for is new and innovative games. Consolidation on the PlayStation side, consolidation on the Xbox side, pulling more studios under one umbrella, I don't think is the best for getting diverse, innovative games overall.
Go ahead, Rob.
And that's Insomniac or that's Bethesda. It goes both ways. I don't think it's the best way for us to get as many new games as possible.
So I was listening to a podcast and this dude was talking about someone who works at like one of the lower studios at Bethesda, and he had talked about how I guess the people there are excited about it because they feel like
they're free to change.
Kind of, they feel like because they have the backing of Microsoft, like financially, they're more confident. It doesn't just have to
be an RPG game.
Yeah, they can make more.
Okay, because that changes
different
what
things.
I was gonna say.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like
they can do a Deathloop again.
Yeah, because it's like because think about like what he said. It's like these games are gonna come out anyways, right? But now imagine they're gonna do this, but like they're gonna have whatever resources they had previously. So you
different
get
styles,
the bugginess is the usual Bethesda stuff. But now it's like, cool, here's some extra Microsoft money, iron that out. You know what I mean? Like, these games have the potential to come out more polished than ever before. And now, especially from the smaller studios mainly, I feel like they have more room to experiment because it's like, okay, cool, we have the safety net of Microsoft's money. We also have Game Pass. So like people will play this just because they need something new to play. I think it has a lot of potential to do great things for Bethesda in terms of creativity. We won't see for a minute, obviously.
Yeah, it's going to take years.
But for at least for the smaller studios, I think there's a lot of potential for new ideas and new IPs.
Yeah.
But obviously, people are talking about the big ones first because they're like, because that's what we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I also think there's a flip side to that, and it's something Amit already mentioned, and I've heard people talk about on podcasts as well, is like, okay, so Prey didn't do well, Dishonored didn't do well commercially, but they did well critically. So do we just go back to the well? Because now we aren't taking as much of a financial risk, and we can come out with Prey 2, we can come out with Dishonored 3, and now are we getting less innovation because we have that comfort to fall
back on Fallout and Elder Scrolls.
Right, we don't have to take as big of a financial risk because we feel like we have that backing and we can just put it on Game Pass. So we go back to what's comfortable, something we loved, and what's also still a great game, but the public didn't respond to it. So like, I agree with Rob. I'd like to see them take new risks, but I think it's a double-edged.
It is.
Double-edged sword's the wrong word. It's a branching path, and it depends which way they take it. So
one good thing we should mention is that Phil is very hands-off with these studios. He's like, when we purchase the studios, we let the studios be the studios. We're not really overseeing what they're doing. We just want to make sure we'll check in with them, say, hey, do you need any help? Do you need us to pull anything, any resources for you? That's what they're there for, right? Whenever they bought Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory's been on the record saying, like, they just want us to be the best we can. We said, here's our idea. And they said, okay, go run with it. So that I think it's only good. And yes, there's a double-edged sword with innovation. Yes, I understand that. But I think we just don't want to forget that Phil is letting them do what they want to do. And I think that could, like Rob was saying, because they have the chance to do what they want, I think we're going to see more diverse games like Ghostwire Tokyo,
fair,
Deathloop,
all those things.
Arcane's like, okay, we have Dishonored 1 and 2. They didn't do 3. They did Deathloop. Right.
We got that without Microsoft. Like, those were things that happened without Microsoft. Like, that's what I guess it goes back to.
But they also
it's a circle,
deal.
right? Like, yes, like without the purchase, they were doing those things.
I think Bethesda takes a shot on new stuff because they want to prove, or Microsoft, they want to prove to Microsoft that they're not just a Halo, that they're not just a Fallout and they're not just an Elder Scrolls. Like, they don't want to be like, here's 10 RPG games. And like, an RPG game is an RPG game. Like, you're going to spend hundreds of hours, but what makes you stand out? Like, you could tell me you got 10 RPG games. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to pick 2 or 3 of them. Do I like it? Yeah. Play it. It's another RPG game. Like, The Witcher's great. Fallout's great. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's just a long game with a lot of content, a lot of quality. Maybe it sucks. Like Rob said, these little studios got the freedom to try something you've never seen from a Bethesda. I think Microsoft will allow them to run with it. And shit, if it fails, all right, it's on Game Pass. If it does well, you're going to get 3 more games of this in the span of 10 years.
Or if it fails, and then
you can go to Sony.
Money. No, yeah, exactly. They just say, okay, we'll put out this next.
There you go.
On all platforms, and then we'll just cut it off.
No, but I'm serious though. Like, they own it. They can open it up and be like, hey. You want
if a game fails, why would you put it elsewhere? No one's gonna buy it.
No. If they lose, let's say before Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and they lose money on something else, they can say, okay, fine, we'll put Elder Scrolls 6 on everything, and then everyone buys it, right?
Oh,
then they get $70 a pop.
No, they're not just gonna be like, here, this game sucks.
This game was ass. You guys take it. What?
Yeah.
Santino, now that all the Bethesda games are on Game Pass, I hate to call you out like this, but the best Bethesda games in the past 5 years are not RPGs. So you need to get on Game Pass and play.
Fallout 4 was not that good.
No, you need to go play Wolfenstein and you need to play some Doom.
I played those. I played Wolfenstein. I didn't play what was the stealthy one?
Dishonored.
Dishonored.
I didn't play Dishonored. Yeah. I don't do stealth, but I heard it's a good game.
I feel like Wolfenstein's right up your alley. I'm surprised. Yeah, you like
I played
that.
One? Yeah, I played that. I know it's not that I didn't like it.
No, I'm just saying, like, I think they have a lot to offer outside RPGs, and I think RPGs are where they need to start proving themselves again.
I think they need to get away from the RPGs personally.
I think that's where they're the best right now. Doom and
Bethesda acquisition. If you're going to sell me on Fallout, you're not taking advantage of what you have in Microsoft. You're not there's so much more that can come from this partnership in regards to like a single player game that they can make. And that's what I've been saying for Microsoft since, the close of the last gen. They need better story games that you can get lost in. Stop making this is a shooter with a story, but go run the multiplayer with your buddies until the next one comes out. Give me an Uncharted type game, a Last of Us type game where I'm lost and I remember this game for the entire generation. And I want the next, either the third or the fourth game next gen. Fallout, I love the game because it's a game I got lost in and there's so much to do. But like I said, you can't have a $7 billion deal with a company. Yeah, you're gonna make a lot of money off the Elder Scrolls, off the Fallouts, but what more can you give me? What is better than Fallout that you're going to give me? And that's, I think, what Xbox wants to see. I think that's what Xbox single player fans want. They don't want to Fallout. I mean, they might.
No, they want to Fallout too. They want everything.
But they want more than. That's the thing. we want more.
Yeah, no,
There's
more,
we don't
bro.
want the same of what we've been getting. Like, and that's what Xbox is notoriously known to give you. It's the Gears, it's the Halos, it's the Forza. Fallout is just going to get thrown into that category too. Once
We need a
that
better
now that
Fallout.
it's exclusive, like, so again, new IPs, new exclusives, put them on Xbox. Don't
Okay.
share that shit.
I had one last question. It'll be quick, and it totally contradicts Santino's idea of getting away from RPGs. Will we get Fallout New Vegas 2 whatever collaboration with Obsidian now
I don't
that
think
they're
so.
under the same?
No,
I think it's too
'cause
good
we
to
have
be true.
Avowed coming.
Yeah, it's not. I don't
Yeah,
think it ever comes, to be
They
honest.
have multiple teams though. They have Obsidian has multiple teams, right? They did Outer Worlds while they're making that. They did
Aren't they working on Grounded right now?
Yeah,
That's
they,
what I'm
come on,
saying.
they got 3 different studios.
Grounded
in
and
one.
Avowed.
I
Come on
agree.
now.
I don't think it'll happen. It was just more of like a quick question with the wish list.
They
But,
need
like,
what they need
why
to do
you
is
need
kill off
Obsidian
Fallout
if you have
76.
Bethesda,
then-
like they make the same game.
Actually,
I don't know.
Obsidian does it better, I think.
I'm about to say,
Agree.
everyone says the
Obsidian
best
does it
Fallout
better.
game is in the
Yeah,
city.
the best. New Vegas is the best one.
Yeah,
So
that's
why
what
do
I'm
you
Three-
need
saying.
them both?
3 is only like the cream of the crop because of the DLC that came out. The DLC is like elite for Fallout 3.
Watch
That- I mean-
Bethesda come in and ruin Avowed.
No way. I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped for that game.
Me too.
I had a fun
Alright.
idea that I didn't get to talk
Alright.
about earlier. If you guys,
Greg,
want.
give me a speed round so we can.
Oh, I kind of did them.
Oh
Those
shit.
of 'em,
Those
yeah.
were kind of them. That was like they were long speed rounds. the Obsidian one was the
I
quick
guess-
one.
Amit, you want to close?
Yo, well, let me do this. This is the fun idea thing. This is what people have been asking for forever. But now that it's not just Gears and Halo and Forza, right? They have so many characters. Are we finally going to get a Smash Brothers
Holy
type
shit!
game?
My head
for
went to
Xbox,
Smash. I knew he was going to do this.
or a first person shooter type thing with all those characters,
No.
or are they going to do like a Mario Kart type thing? Because
That's like one of those $25
Everyone.
games that everybody's
They're-
excited for and nobody plays.
What
I-
characters do they have?
Their
Like,
characters
really?
are too like serious and intense.
Marcus Phoenix, Master Chief,
they have
the
Joanna
random Fallout
Dark.
You
You can use
But,
any
like-
rare characters.
No,
can
but, like,
use any
guys-
Mercedes
but,
Benz
like,
from Forza.
Why does
Yeah.
Is
this
their
change
character?
now that they have Bethesda?
Because they can use the Doom
got
guy. They
Doom
can,
guy.
They got Doom.
They can use the
There's
Wolf
characters.
guy.
You
They
just
Isn't
gotta
Doom
look.
Guy in Smash Bros?
No.
No,
I don't know.
just Banjo Kazooie, which they
Oh.
can use them.
No. That's a hard no from me. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah,
I love it. I
We're
would
not
love-
in this space anymore.
No.
Dude, you put out a-
Sony
you-
failed their attempt. Microsoft isn't going to try.
Dude, you put out a Smash Bros that's ultra violent with all those characters. I think
you know where I want to play Smash Bros. with me? I bet on my Switch.
Oh shit, that's funny.
hey, guess what? With XCloud, you're gonna be
Oh,
able to
get
do
outta
that with
here
that
with
with
this.
Game Pass.
Go ahead, Amit. Close us out.
ILL.
I
There we go, Rob.
I can't do it now.
You know what? I'll close it. We talked Bethesda. Go U of I to win the whole tournament. Amit's Iowa. What are you guys?
2 seed
No. What's your mascot?
Hawkeyes.
Iowa Hawkeyes are probably not going to make it out of the second round. The DePaul Blue Demons are long gone. They won 4 games this year. So, Bethesda, congratulations on becoming partners with Microsoft. Hopefully it is many years of successful games, exciting games, and not just Fallout, but I wouldn't be mad.
Well, it's like 5, 6, 7 years out, dog.
Fallout is way farther
Yeah.
out. I don't even. Anyways, hopefully we get an announcement like I don't know. I'm very hesitant to talk about E3 because I think that's dead.
Event.
I want a
Summer event.
Bethesda
yes.
Microsoft like strict event of like, hey, this is our newest partner in Microsoft, and these are the games that they're making, and we're going to show you them. And maybe after that, we can know more if like the starting relationship of this is going to just take off like a wildfire. But until then, Bethesda, good for you. Make good games, make the people happy, and hopefully you don't put it on PlayStation.
They're all rich as hell now.
Yeah, they're definitely money. Cash rules everything around me, Kareem.
I'm rich, bitch.
Okay. Anyways, guys, it was fun. I will talk to you guys soon.
Timmy
I think you got to cut it after the I'm rich bitch. That's
No, we're using that one. We're using that
perfect cut.
one. Bye, guys.
Later.
Bye.